Hey guys, CephalonKet here. So I wanted to make a small tutorial that will most likely be used by my friends. This tutorial will be about taking a character that you made in, for example, Photoshop, taking it into Live2D, tweaking it slightly, making expressions, the expressions you want, the poses you want, and then taking that character from Live2D and importing it to Ren'Py. So this is something that I learned recently, and I thought to make a small video going through the steps that you'll need to take. So let's begin. So I'm gonna start with the Photoshop file. I made a little test character here. I'm not a very good artist, but this will work fine for our tutorial here. So the most important thing is to have the layers right. So think that for any part that you want to move, you will need to make a separate layer. For example, if you want to have the arms move, you will need to have them separately from the rest of the body, because if you only have one layer for the body like I do, then you try to move the arms, that would not work. And other things that you can have is the front hair, a separate layer for movement, the eyebrows if you want to move them, the eyes, the hair on the back, anything that you're thinking, oh, that would be nice if it moves, you need to have it on its own layer, not attached to other parts that you don't want to move. All right, so my layers are not ideal. Don't take my layers as an example. This is just because I know that I will have very limited movement. But yeah, let's go to the next steps. So we go to Live2D. I have the free version, so no big deal. And we're going to drag the Photoshop file over to Live2D. So once you import the character, you will see all your layers here. Any folders you also had on your Photoshop file will also be imported. So if you want to be very organized, that will also help you when you import to Live2D. So if you're on the free version of Live2D, you have very limited options, at least if you want to go crazy with rigging. But for the purposes of rigging for a visual novel for Ren'Py, it works just fine. So when we're thinking about making a character from Live2D and to import to Ren'Py, a visual novel engine, we of course will not be rigging this character the same way that we would a VTuber avatar, right? So already our job is much easier. So let's begin by, for example, if we wanted to have the character breathe, right? So first, what we need to do is make a mesh for all the parts of our drawing here. So we would select all of the parts here, then click the auto button up here, say standard, and then just cancel that. And as you can see, it already made a basic mesh for everything. Up next, if you wanted the character to breathe with a simple movement, what you could do, for example, is to select the body. I only have one layer for the body. As I said, my layers are not perfect. I just have one body layer. And I would also select everything, and I would create a mesh with this button here and call it breathing. I would just leave it like that. We don't have to go, unless you want to be super perfect, you don't have to tweak this. So now that we have selected our mesh that we made here, or deformer, we can scroll down in the parameters here, find the breadth over here. While this is selected, put 2 keyframes. While the red thing is over here, this means that this is a neutral stance, so the character is not breathing. And once we drag it over here on the second keyframe, this will be the stance that the character will have when they breathe. So let's do some slight tweaking to make the illusion that the character is breathing. So already, as I mentioned, this is not perfect, this is just very basic. I'm only showing a very basic example. The character is raising the shoulders here, so it gives the impression that they're breathing a little bit. We can go even more detailed. That. If I wanted to be even more detailed, I would make a separate mesh for the head. Separate mesh, breathe, head. Make a, for every mesh you make, for every deformer you make, you will need to put the keyforms again. So go to breath again, put 2 keyforms, and move as you like. Now this is very basic, but I want to tweak it a little bit more. So an example of some idle movement would be the hair to move. So I would, for example, take the front hair, make another deformer, name it breath hair front, create, put my keyforms on breath, and slightly move the hair. So they move with the breathing here. Already it looks a lot more dynamic, cute even. So we can do the same with the back hair here. Hair, breath, back. Create, go to breath, add 2 keyforms, same thing for everyone. Now, of course, you could put the keyforms on other parameters over here. You could do it on the hair move front, on hair move side, on hair move back. But I want specifically that everything is tied to the breathing. I want when I move my slider for breathing, for everything to move at once. I don't want to have to move multiple parameters. I'm doing this on purpose, but if you want to control when only the body moves, or only the face moves, or only the hair moves, you can put the keyforms on different parameters so you can control where each part moves. But I want it all on one, so that's why I'm doing it on breath. So let's continue. Slightly have it like that. Yeah, and already we have some simulated breathing. Of course, due to the body being one mesh, it does become a bit deformed. The hands, for example, they don't look great, but for the purposes of just showing you what these things do and how to do it, this works fine. Now, if I wanted to only move the head, we could do this with a rotation deformer up here. So if you had already created a deformer for the head, for example, for anything here, we would only need to select the first deformer up here. We can check if it has any child items like this. You only need to select this and then create a rotation deformer like so. Just leave it rotation name. Move it with the control key so it is at the base of the chin. And then let's put 3 keyframes at angle X over here. and this is the neutral in the middle. And when we slide it to the left, we can make the head slightly move to the side like so. And when we move it to the right, we can have the opposite movement and slide it to the right like so. Also, I noticed that my neck is slightly showing here, so we are able to fully move the head. Just make sure we don't have anything we don't want selected, and completely move it down with control, and that will stay for everything. This is a permanent change. So now it looks a bit better. And we have a movement. Next up, we can have movement for the lips. So we can make expressions without drawing it first in Photoshop. So I have made an upper and lower mouth separate, which helps with making expressions. And we're going to make a deformer with the deform path edit tool. So I'm going to just select the upper mouth, going to this to make a path. So then let's go to a parameter we like. Let's make it mouth form. Let's put 3 keyframes here. Let's slide it up and let's make that our smile. And this is going to be our smile. As we can see, the bottom lip is not there yet. We will have to do the same for the lower mouth. So let's go down here to the lower mouth layer, make another deform path edit, frames, make 3 keyframes on mouth form again, make it be here, and now with the mouse tool we're going to move it so it matches the upper. As we can see, we now have a smile. This is a neutral, this is the smile. Of course, it looks a bit funny, but this is just for the tutorial's sake. So let's do the same with the sad expression. This would be the complete opposite. Let's go here and move it down. So go to the upper mouth, move it down, and have neutral, sad, and happy expressions. So for the purposes of the tutorial, let's say we are ready now for the next part. We would need to create a file that has all of the layers in one file spread out. So we click on the Edit Texture Atlas here. We select the width and height we want. For the free version, we can only go up to this number, I believe. Click OK. Automatic layout. It's all good, all spread out. If anything is not there, you will need to manually place it. Click OK. And that will make it so when you export to Ren'Py, the game will be able to read that layout and put your character into the game. But in order to import to Ren'Py, we first need to make each expression we want into a motion file. So in order to do that, go to File, New, Animation, click on Unity, that's fine. And each scene that you will have here, which you will rename to the expression you want, for example, as the first one, we'll name it Idle. Each scene will be the expression that you will have in the game. So make sure it's a name that will be easily typed into the Ren'Py script editor. So in order to start, you will need to drag your character that you have in project here. You will need to drag it on your timeline here. Yeah, let's save. All right. Also, one other important thing is for the size in width and height over here in the scene, to have it be around the size of your game. So for example, I will make it 1920. It will automatically fix my height for me. So then you can resize your character. Make sure to keep pressing down on shift so it doesn't deform. And I will put it on the left here so it sort of mimics how the Ren'Py screen would be. So as a start, our character is just standing there, but we want to make it so they're breathing even when idle. We're making the idle animation and expression now that will be used in Ren'Py. So we go here, we go to Live2D parameters, and we can see all of our parameters here that we were working on. This is the timeline. Up until the black here is how long the animation will be. Make sure to drag this blue thing over to the end here. And now we're going to make our animation. Let's start by having the first expression be just this. So we're gonna go to breath and we're just going to click on what is already selected. And as we can see, it put a little keyframe here. This means that the character will start with this exact pose, but we want them to breathe, right? So we're going to slide our timeline here to, let's say, 1 second, and we want them to have a full breath when it goes to the 1 second. So once it is here, we're going to move our breath to the right. So as you can see, already we can see a preview. The character has 1 full breath in 1 second. So in order to have a full animation that loops, let's go and continue. Let's go to 2 and move it back. So it mimics the full range. And then go to 3, actually go here, move it back. And then over here, right at the end, make sure it has the same keyframe as the first, as the 0 seconds here. So let's see a preview. As you can see, it perfectly loops because we have the breathing going naturally from left to right. So make sure it's not like too close together, so it looks more natural. So that's our idle animation and looks okay. And already this you can export and put into Ren'Py. But before we do this, let's make a couple more of expressions. So in order to copy our scene and everything without having to redo all our settings again, let's click on this copy selected here, name it, let's make it happy. And already it has our settings over here. It copied our breath, which is very useful because even with other expressions, we want them to breathe as well. And let's start again, open the Live2D parameters, and we want them to be smiling now. So let's go to the form that we had here, the mouth form. Let's move it to the smile. And there you go, we already have the happy animation here. Do the same, copy the idle animation again. Name it sad. Open Live2D parameters, go to mouth form, make it a sad animation, and the sad animation is ready to go to Ren'Py. Alright, so let's say that these expressions are fine, we don't want any more. So what we would do is we would export for runtime, export motion file, click OK, output all scenes, make sure to select that, select where you want to save, and click OK. Back in our main file here, we are ready to go. So we're going to go to File, Export, and export as mock3 file. Click OK, save, and you are ready to go. Now for the next part is to actually do this on Ren'Py and see your results. So once you open Ren'Py, one thing you need to do is go to Preferences. If this is your first time doing it, go to Install Libraries and click on Install Live2D Cubism SDK for native. Click on that. Click on this and it will open the zip file that you need. Download that, drop it into your Ren'Py installation folder, and then click on Install Live2D Cubism SDK for native. Once you click on that, it will say successfully installed. We are good to go. And now go to your project, go to Images, make sure that you drop the folder with all the files that we created with Live2D here. So you see we have the texture file, we have the angry, I have some extra animations here, but we have an angry animation, we have a happy animation, we have an idle animation, we have a sad animation. So all of that, every single title here, angry, idle, happy, sad, it's just a line of code that we will use in our script and we will be able to use it on our game. So go to script, that will open your script editor, and then do something like this. You can name the image. We will name it just girl because this is our test girl character. So we define it as image girl and write it exactly like this, with the difference in that for you will have to put the path of where your folder with the files is in. Make sure that you drop it in images so it's easy to type and find later. So this is the images of your game, and this is from a nice tutorial that I watched that went over this. This makes it so it loops the character when it appears, so it looks more natural, and that is basically the main part done. Next, we are going to put the character in action so we can see if it worked. Scroll down to where you want to put the code, and for example, I have written down show girl, that is the title of our character that we defined before. Idle, this is the animation title, the scene we created in Live2D if you remember, and I say that I want it on the left. We put a text here so we can see the character talk, and then we saw the character in a different position with the happy animation we created. So girl, again, the definition we created, happy, the name of the expression scene, at center with move so it is more natural, with some more text, and our next animation, show girl sad at right, and that is basically just to test it. We save the file and then we can go ahead and see if it works. So let's launch it. This is my test project. So as we can see now, the idle animation is moving. It looks very more dynamic than a still image. So yeah, it works great. You can see the happy animation here and our sad animation here. So it works pretty well and it's pretty easy. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I hope this was helpful. I'm still learning myself. This is still very early in my learning process, but I thought to make a small tutorial to help a couple of people that might need it. So yeah, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed and I'll see you later. Bye bye.